Welcome to Sports Geek Amplify, where we profile sports technology solutions to drive results for your sports business. In this Sports Geek Amplify episode, we chat with the founder of VLAST, an athlete management solution that makes it easy to deliver athlete deliverables to your sponsors. Here's your host, founder of Sports Geek, Sean Callanan.
Hello and welcome to Sports Geek Amplify. My name is Sean Callanan from Sports Geek. In this series, we profile the best of sports technology companies that can help sports bounce back. Today's episode is with VLAST. I am joined by the co-founder and CEO of VLAST, James Begley. James, welcome to the series.
Sean, super excited to be here, mate.
So what I want to do, just off the top, I'm a big fan of old school Twitter. It's 140 characters. I'd love the VLAST 140 character pitch, please.
Look, the VLAST platform reduces, I guess, all the pain points associated with talent activations and appearances within, sporting administrations, leagues and clubs. And we also give sponsorship rights holders more data and engagement. So it sounds wordy, but that's us in basically two sentences.
That's all right. I'm not checking character counts. I'm not as tough as Jack and making sure it's 140 characters. But yes, it's very much at the essence of wrangling athletes and getting them to do the activations. And I'm sure there's a few nodding heads, either watching the video or listening to the podcast that have been in that spot of getting lost in WhatsApp messages or the different messaging platforms that athletes are using, or DMing Instagram. What was the origin story for VLAST? How did the platform come about?
Yeah, look, there's a few components, but I guess it was an indirect solution to a problem that we knew existed. So the software was born because, I guess, of another one of our products, which is a two-sided marketplace where we're effectively, scaling up the commercialization of talent and their ability to connect with, brands and fans. So what we kind of had to produce to solve that problem was effectively like a workflow management. And, we've done it incredibly well. Like we ended up, and we still do, have one person who's sort of managing between 400 to 800 bookings and requests at any point in time. But I was actually sitting in New York. So I'm going to, back in the days when we were allowed to travel, and I was sitting in Greenwich Village, and I knew that we had, we're going great guns and the marketplaces is blowing up at the moment. But in terms of this software, I suddenly thought, what about, and I am of an AFL and sports background, and I knew that we had 21 appearances per year that we had to do, 16 for the club and 5 for the league. And I just remember it was all kind of done on spreadsheets. And I thought, far out, we've actually built a platform which can help these industries and bodies and clubs deploy their own talent into their own events. And that really began the essence of what is now VLAST.
Yep. And so for those people who might know, if you're a long-time Sports Geek listener, you might know the platform that James is talking about, episode 202 with your co-founder Matthew Pavlich, an AFL star here in Australia, talking about Pickstar. So that platform is where VLAST was born out of, the workflow management of booking those athletes, managing those athletes, getting them to appearances, recording those appearances. That's where you effectively built out the VLAST platform.
Yeah, I guess it's why we're so bullish about getting the software into people's hands, because it's not a concept that we're trying to mash into the market. It's actually software that we use. I mean, our business depends on it, and there is no way we could scale out, I guess, our business without the software. And that's why we've had so much traction in such a short period of time, but why we are so confident, I guess, by what we've built.
There is a term that I'm not a big fan of, but it is in the IT industry when you're a developer, as a former geek myself, of using your own product. And in the IT industry, it's called dog fooding, right? Eat your own dog food, which sounds terrible. Like, who wants to do that? A mate of mine, Steve Sammartino, says it should be drink your own champagne, right? And that's what you're doing. You're drinking your own champagne. You know what it tastes like. You've made the tweaks to it. You've refined it. It's not... you're not just brewing it and sending it out, not knowing what it's like. So I think the option of getting and using the product itself is absolutely vital. So you've built the product, you've been using the product yourself. So who are the people in the sports industry that are using the product?
There's three types of sort of entry points that we find into leagues and clubs. The first time, one of the first entry points is really the people that have all the pain, right? Now, we have not experienced an industry club or league that we've spoken to where they go, talent appearance is just awesome. It's seamless. It's streamlined. It's easy, right? So the people in the actual, it could be on the performance side. It depends on the club or the league. The performance side, it could be an administrator or just someone, like a player development manager, potentially. The people who are the ones who hold the spreadsheet. And for any of those who have been in this space, you know what I mean. There's a spreadsheet of who's done what, where, and when. And I've seen some amazing spreadsheets so far in just a short space of time. Then there's obviously the head of commercial that we target and we speak to. They're far less worried about the pain points of talent appearances. They're much more interested in the data and I guess the insights that they can gain and the way that it helps sponsors and gives them engagement in the process of talent activation. And then the last one really are your sort of your CEOs or the people who conceptually get it. And then they just go, we know this is an issue and we'll put you into the right people within the club. So they're the three sort of layers that we typically target.
Yeah, I mean, it's critical that, I guess the athlete management piece and it's the commercial folk that they're like, we've got to deliver these deliverables. Like you said before, as a AFL player, you had X many for the club and X many for sponsors and X many for the league. Like the commercial staff are making sure those deliverables are happening, and whether those are happening online, which a lot of them have moved to online in 2020, 2021, but also in-store appearances. So it's not just an online play. You're managing all of those deliverables from an athlete point of view.
100%. If you think anything of content, whether it's a tweet or an Instagram post that needs to be managed, through to talent needing to be at a brand shoot or a TVC shoot, through to the league or the club or the rights holder organising, some IP imagery with the agent and the talent themselves. So it's every aspect of the talent activation that we cover. And so, look, from our perspective, we've been really aggressive through the COVID period for a whole host of reasons.
Yep. So that's the actual who. They're the people, like you said, the owners of the spreadsheets, right? Which really should be your title. Like all these people that are managing the athletes should get a +1 on their LinkedIn profile for managing Excel. But who are the parts of the industry? Like we've got different parts of the industry that have this issue of managing athletes or managing large staff for these activations. What are the different types of, I guess, customers that you have?
Look, at the moment, we've got very specifically, we've got clubs, whether it's, any club that has a responsibility to deploy their talent. We've actually got talent agencies themselves. I mean, if you think about, this isn't just about club to player, it's about talent agencies who have a high workload of opportunities coming in their door, and they need to manage that. Through to, large leagues that have just taken on our system league-wide because they have to deploy, they've got a certain marketing fund and that relates to their athletes across the league doing a certain number of appearances. We're also currently in very active discussions, but early stages, with 3 or 4 of the world's largest apparel brands. And so if you think about it, they have I won't say a vast number of athletes on their books who are required contractually to do a whole host of things during the year. And often the way that we think about our work is we've taken possibly one of the least sexiest parts of sport and we've just created a pretty narrow and deep product to service that. And that's really, what we've discovered is no one gives credit or due to the amount of work that goes into making these activations come to life. And often if you stuff this up, if you get it wrong and you get the wrong athlete to an event, or you get an athlete who's not engaged or is late or is just in any way not engaged, it really looks poor on the sponsor. and what you're attempting to do to drive value and drive brand alignment, through the process.
Yeah, I mean, we've all heard those stories of, and a lot of the time the blame does go to the athlete, because even from the athlete point of view, you're thinking about all the different ways they're being pulled in multiple directions using multiple platforms, giving them that single point of view of this is how I'm going to get communicated from either, like you said, those different, those different shareholders, whether it's from their team or from their agency. Like, it makes that a lot simpler because we all know those horror stories. The Markel Fultz Instagram posts about the Tissot watch. Insert city name here, please, Markel, and it just gets pasted. Like, we all know those horror stories, and we all know what those conversations would be like with a sponsor like Tissot after the event, and the things the make goods that are required after that.
Yeah. Look, if our platform does its job, you don't even think about it.
Yep.
You don't even think about the success of the activation. I guess if you don't have a system like ours, it can all go pear-shaped, and you can drive, all the wrong headlines your way. And from a talent experience, and I've been on that side of it, and my co-founder Matthew's been on that side of it. It's not because anyone's malicious in their desire to make your life painful, but it's a series of emails, correspondence from your agent. It's then the finer details on the day come through text message and WhatsApp. And then if you're not sure what to wear, or you're not sure what to post, or where do I go to find that number? Like, it's not rocket science, but it's bringing a centralized way that you can kind of bring all the stakeholders together. That there's a communication workflow, and then there's just automation, right? Like, I spoke to someone yesterday, and she's setting a reminder to remind someone to then send a text message to the player the night before.
Yep.
Like, ridiculous.
Yep.
So we know we've got something which is going to take that pain away.
And it's taking away, because it is the domino effect. Like, a few of those things get missed. Like, your phone battery dies, you don't get the reminder, you don't text the player doesn't wake up, the player doesn't turn up. And it's all because your phone died. Right. And so there's
Correct.
so many different parts of that puzzle of, we've got 8 players in this WhatsApp group, but one of them, he's on a different platform. He doesn't use WhatsApp. And so, again, the person that is doing that management makes it really tough. And the good thing is, with VLAST being a mobile friendly, easy to open, easy to transact, easy to have that communication, streamlines that piece. And then I think, the commercial folk who are either listening or should be listening it's just that tracking, like, hey, this is what works, this is what was delivered, and here's the reporting on how it went, which is a really important part of the, as we're all looking for more ways to bring in revenue in the world of sport, it's really important to be able to track that appropriately.
Yeah, look, we know that, again, some of the largest brands and leagues in the world, like in the conversations that I've had with them and the meetings, I've instantly said, right now, as of today, could you tell me which of your talent have completed their allotted portion of their contractual arrangement?
Yep.
And they just look at you blankly. It's like, no, right? So part of the platform is, because everything's automated and because we capture every data point, we've got the ability to have live metrics and reporting that's instantaneous.
Yep.
And again, it brings into the sort of new age what is currently a really archaic system. And again, that those data insights, and it's not just data about who's completed what, it's data on athletes and their passion points.
Yep.
Because of the system captures with agents and the club itself, social good themes that the athletes engage with. The system captures, protected sponsors. It captures, potentially, passion points in the worlds of brands and things that the athletes always loved. Like, it's a facilitating the meaningful connection too between sponsors and the athletes themselves. And typically that's just left to someone who's been in your club or your league or your industry for a long time, who's built up a wealth of knowledge. Again, we want to extract all of that, and we want to give the IP and the data and the insights to the actual club or the league or the talent agency.
And it also gives you some of those insights, and it's stuff that you've seen, with Pickstar, finding athletes that do specific activations well and are willing to do it well, and because it is easy to do. And so what you can find, if you've got a large list of players, at the moment, it's all based on how well you know the player, how much you're talking about them. Oh, I just found out that, Corey really loves movies. Oh, we really could have used him in that movie activation. and it potentially opens up new assets, new opportunities for the commercial folk to go, oh, we've got this swag of players that are really into sneakers, or we've got these guys that are really into music, and it starts giving a few more things to play with. And we all know when you've got athletes doing things around their passion points, what they love doing, it's, one, got to say the word authentic around, activations, but it actually does work because they're talking from a point of, I really like doing this.
Exactly right. And I think, we might discuss a little bit later on, but, the system not only saves you, human resources and time, but it actually allows you to proactively pitch out insights, right? So if an athlete loved kombucha since the age of 12 because you gain that information through our system, you can kind of create a property, or you could create a piece of real estate, or you could create an activation and proactively go to the kombucha brands in your local market and say, this is a meaningful, authentic story here. We've had an example where a cricketer actually had a sponsor and wrote a letter to their sponsor at the age of 12.
Yep.
And now one of the things that's come about is because of that piece of information, the sponsors come back on board just to leverage that story and, use that letter as part of a campaign. And again, it allows you to proactively go out to market, not just kind of enhance what you've already got.
Yeah, I think that piece, and also the piece around the deliverables, not knowing when. Because I'm sure if we did analysis of the past 5 or 10 years, we'd have this graph of not many deliverables, and then they have hang on, there's 2 months left in the season, lots of deliverables in the last, it's also got to fill out the deliverables, and it's make good season, just spreading that out. It will be a better experience for the fans, right? You're not getting bombarded with a whole bunch of activations and those kind of things in a short period because you're like, oh, we haven't done it. So I think that will be super valuable as well.
Well, I know. And look, I know I was a mediocre hack professional footballer, Sean, but I got sent out on a couple of occasions towards the end of the year to a shopping centre. And that was literally to get some boxes ticked, because I went out there and everyone just walked past you and looked at you like some sort of alien. They're like, I think that was like, where's Stewie Lowe?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, sorry, I'm not Stewie Lowe. But the point is that there was no value to anyone in that. No value to the talent, no value to the sponsor, no value to the shopping centre. But it was done because it just had to be organised. And I think, again, to reiterate, the point is that this piece of work within our clients is never identified as an important piece of work, and yet it is so important to the DNA of successful sponsorship activation.
Yep, and your point there is the pertinent one. Getting that right, it is most likely in a lot of cases, it's the reason that they renew. We had James turn up to this store at this time, and we had lots of people, and our franchisee was really happy with that result. And it's that's a key indicator that could see them go, yes, we're back for next year, or we want to do more of that because it was really successful. Whereas if you're in that box ticking, hey, yeah, we got it done, it doesn't quite do the job. Now what I want to do is go and look into our triple threat.
Now it's time for the Sports Geek Amplify Triple Threat.
Thank you very much, James, my podcast producer, putting in that sting. Very well done. So first of all, James, my guest, not my podcast producer. It's so hard when my guests have the same name as my podcast producer. Triple threat. First of all, I'm going to talk about, and we've touched on it a little bit, which is okay because it's so important, is time. How does VLAST help save time?
Huge. We have quantified. We think on average, every talent activation from a tweet through to the larger, more complex ones, if we averaged it out, would take about 3.5 hours from start to finish of human effort.
Yep.
We would reduce that time by about 2/3, maybe a bit more. And so if you extrapolated that out, in an AFL club, you might have 1,000 activations in a year. You start to do the math on the amount of hours that we would save for one person, or even two people. We've got a bit of a catchline, which we like, and we like to say that we like smart people doing better work. And so our system actually reduces all the, I'll say, crap work or the administrative things that could be replicated by a machine.
Terrific. And that's the thing. We are now in a world with more automation, and the whole idea of automation and bringing in these productivity hacks. Effectively, you'd be calling VLAST a productivity hack, because it does take away a lot of that admin work that, the holders of spreadsheets, who will now be, VLAST superstars, because they can concentrate on the actual activation and not just the wrangling.
Spot on. We have to be a little careful sometimes when we go in and talk to a new client, because sometimes the people we're talking to suddenly go, oh, heck, is this going to take my job? And we actually say, no. I mean, if this job frees you up to spend more time relationally with talent, because a lot of them say they like spending time with talent and learning about them, we say, brilliant. Like, this should get you out of your computer and allow you to do the things that have high impact and high value, not setting meeting requests to remind someone to text the player to do something.
There you go. We've just gone and answered the resources question of the triple threat, which is how do you save, or how do you save resources, or just also the required resources to execute? Because a lot of people bring in tools across multiple parts of the business and go, oh, terrific, here's our silver bullet. We'll just plug this widget in and it will solve everything. We've talked about saving time, but what are the resources required to run, implement, set up, use VLAST?
Yeah, sure. The first phase really is just, we do a mapping phase of getting all the key stakeholders to use the system, and that's typically 2 by 1 hour workshops that we conduct.
Yep.
That's super important for us, because if we can't mimic and replicate your current workflow, it's not going to work. Sports clubs and leagues are rife with systems which get brought in and not used, put in the shelf and never brought out again. So the 1 hour workshops are really important. We then literally have a client success manager who will grab all your talent and in one big data import, bring it all in to our system. And then literally it's about the athletes and the key stakeholders logging in for the first time. So that process is pretty simple. The most complex part, though, is really understanding your current workflow and adapting our system. And the thing that I like about our system is we're not trying to be an athlete management system. We're not trying to be a CRM. We're not trying to be some sort of, return on investment, sponsorship platform. We integrate with just about everything. We integrate with billing. We integrate with CRMs. We integrate with athlete schedulers. We literally want to be the engine that powers the talent activation.
Yep, terrific. So then the last one is from a money point of view. We're always, coming out of COVID, hopefully in different parts of the world, everyone's looking to either save money or make money. Where does VLAST fit in that equation?
Well, I've probably touched on it previously. I mean, do the math on a human resource wage.
Yep.
And reduce, your human effort by 2/3, and that times that by the hourly wage, and you start to get an understanding of cost saving. And then I think really it's about then how can the system drive insights and data for you to go to market and activate new properties that you wouldn't be able to otherwise. And I think that's the ability to sort of to make money.
Yeah, I think that make money. I mean, I think the commercial folk listening will be like, oh, hang on. Like we were just discussing before, finding out more about the players and how you can pitch them back into market takes it away from that cookie cutter. Oh, here's a line item in your sponsor proposal of player appearances. Like if you can upsell and understand what that player appearance is, maybe that player appearance becomes a player ambassador, maybe it becomes a player ambassador in a content series, because you're able to dive in a little bit deeper from those insights. So that's where I think there is the make money opportunity. I think the saving money opportunity is obviously right there. We can't, we have touched on a little bit. You can't talk on a podcast in 2021 without talking about COVID. How was your business changed or adapted to COVID, and then also how is the industry adapted, and how does VLAST fit into the COVID normal, if we like to say, going forward?
Well, we launched the product in February last year. And look, we had a 2 or 3 real blue chip large clients that we launched with, so that was great. So we were going to put our feet up, smoke cigars, and just think we're geniuses. COVID hit, and we really kind of had to think through how we talk sensitively to clients, because the main thing on top of the carnage was just the level of uncertainty. And I don't mean commercial or whether the game was going to happen, or I just mean people didn't really even know if their jobs were going to exist. So their ability to comprehend a piece of software was just not there. So we basically went dormant for about 4 or 5 months, doubled down on refining the product. And then when we sort of smelt that that there was a little bit more confidence, we actually went super aggressive into market for the precise reason that our system allows less people to do more work.
Yep.
And for the first time ever since I can remember, and I'm got some grey hair, but I'm not that old, but it's a contraction in the sport world, and where there's been typically hyperinflation. I mean, sports right deals, like new properties coming on, the female game, like sport has just exploded over the last 20 years in terms of money. And this is the first time I've seen a real shrinking. And so we've come in and said, hey, for a really, really good price, you can effectively, reduce the number of hours required to do the same piece of work. And that's really resonated. I think that is why we've had such, great growth in the last 6 months. And so we see it as, we've got to be sensitive, and we're really working with our clients from the commercial standpoint. But our main purpose as a business is to get our software in people's hands. That's what we're passionate about.
And that's the pretty much the genesis of Sports Geek Amplify series, where, it was a response to COVID. Sports is going to be asked to do more with less. And it's an industry that's always been stretched. It's always had less resources than people think. And so, coming out of COVID.
Sorry to jump in, Sean, because it just made me think that the highly relevant point too, and this is the commercial managers and GMs will understand this, they're reducing like game development budgets. And so what we've experienced, especially with one of our largest clients, is that they've kind of frozen and cut out marketing budgets, but they're simply going back to the allotted number of appearances and activations that they're entitled to as a league for their players to develop game, and they're squeezing the most out of that. They're saying, well, we need our athletes to do every single one of our appearances and activations at a high level, but geez, how do we manage that? How do we even know? How do we even gain insights into whether that's happening? Hence why I think we play a really important role in making sure that the game development of leagues and clubs can happen through this period.
Yeah, definitely. So, it is something that, sports has got to deal with, and it's across, athlete activation, ticketing departments, digital departments. There has been this contraction. So, looking for opportunities and products that can help in that space, and VLAST is definitely one. So what I want to do to wrap things up is try to refine what we've discussed here into what I call the Sports Geek pitch. It's a defined format. It's how what we do is in fact. So I want to pitch it back to you to see if I've got this right. How managing athlete activations is like herding cats. What we do is what we do is, I had it. Hang on, let me just get back to it. What we do is, and this just shows it's running live. What we do is simplify, organise and report on athlete activations with sponsors on a mobile-friendly platform. In fact, we know it works. We've booked over 3,000 athletes and over 6,000 activations on the Pickstar platform powered by VLAST. Other than me stuffing it up and getting the position in my Google Doc there, that's the pitch for me. That's what, and you're more than well happy to take that on board. But yeah, as someone who's herded athletes, it is like herding cats. So that is what VLAST is. And I guess what we want to do is to have an offer for the people who are listening in to Sports Geek Amplify. That's the idea. Really appreciate the support that you've done of Sports Geek content and this overall. James, what is the offer that we can present to Sports Geek Amplify listeners? I believe you've got the 6 and 50 offer is what it's called.
Love the 6 and 50, and this is where I feel like I move into some sort of infomercial mode. So
exactly.
It's like, Sean, because I've known you for such a long time, mate. Normally I would just give a coupon out, but today, no. Look, we've got an exceptionally meaningful offer. We're willing to give the software to someone for 6 months free. And that gives you a really outstanding ability to really see the power of it, and that's why we back ourselves in. And then not only are we willing to do that for the remaining 6 months, we'll give it to you at 50% market rate. So if you can do the math on that for 1 year, we see that as a really good offer for the audience that we know that you drive, but also because we're friends.
Exactly. So that's the 50 and 6 offer. So it's 6 months for free, then the next 6 months for at 50% off. It's not for everybody though. It's got to be the first 5 people to sign up. I'm the one that's going in infomercial mode here. So you've got to go to sportsgeekamplify.com/VLAST, VLAST, or govlast.com/sportsgeek. That's what you've got to do to get in. It's going to be for the first 5 only. So 6 months free, get it embedded, start activating, and then 50% off. And then for those, because there's some people that they're a bit reticent, they're not quite there. What do we? How about we do an upgrade for people who are listening if they miss out on that first 50 and 6 offer?
Sure. Look, we got sort of 5, I guess, packages from basic through to enterprise. And look, what we would be willing to do is upgrade you, which adds a whole, you basically unlock a whole raft of features and benefits and volume. If you move up a bracket and a package. So basically, if you come in at a certain entry level, we'll bump you up to professional. If you come in at professional, we'll give you premium, and if you come in at premium, we'll give you enterprise. So it's another meaningful offer.
Exactly. So for those people who don't remember, if you remember upgrades, going to the airport and you would get upgraded and the thrill of that experience, that's what we want to give. All you've got to do is go to those websites, sportsgeekhq.com/VLAST, VLAST, or govlast.com/sportsgeek, or just mention my name when you're talking to James. Hey, James, I heard you on Sports Geek Amplify. I want that upgrade. And ding, 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 you will get it. So thank you very much, James. I am hoping that I've done all the things correct from a technical god's point of view, and this has recorded correctly. I really do appreciate your time. People, please reach out to James, James Begley on LinkedIn. Reach out to him. govlast.com is the website. That's it for this episode. Thank you very much, James.
Thanks, Sean, mate. You're a star, as always. Appreciate it.
And don't forget, you can check out all the different cohort on sportsgeekamplify.com, and please check out the interviews with the other members of the cohort, and stay tuned. We're going to have a Sports Biz Zoom reunion show where we're going to get everyone back in. That's going to be booked in very soon. That's it.
Please check out all episodes of the Sports Geek Amplify series at sportsgeekamplify.com. To connect with James at VLAST, go to sportsgeekamplify.com/VLAST. Join the Sports Geek Amplify cohort on a special #SportsBiz Zoom reunion show on June 8th and 9th. sportsgeekhq.com/Zoom calls. All episodes are available in the Sports Geek podcast feed. You can listen to Sports Geek on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and all good podcasting platforms. This has been a Sports Geek production.